My sensitivity to the Force was becoming stronger every day. I could actually feel the world around me, alive and constantly in motion. I was now looking at the galaxy with both eyes open. My training on Tython was going well, of that there was no dispute. My martial combat skills, however, were coming along slower than I had anticipated. Back on Anaxis, I was one of the top cadets at the Advanced Close Quarters Training Facility. But there was a huge difference between using a vibro knife and wielding a lightsaber. Still, I was getting better. Eventually, I told myself, I would be like the Jedi I'd seen in Hollows growing up, a master of the flashing blade. The thought always cheered me up. My pride over my newfound abilities was dampened, however, as my brother Cairo was never far from my thoughts. I had made several friends who were serving in the various Republic military branches. Every now and then, I would receive a message from one of them regarding possible leads on the whereabouts of my brother. Yet, every time I looked into one of these potential clues, the trail always went cold. Dead end after dead end. My frustration was mounting. I was beginning to feel an emotion that I could not control. Hate. I hated the corruption that had led to my brother's self-imposed exile. I hated these clues that never led anywhere. But most of all, I was beginning to hate my bond with Kyra. The hints of agony I would get alerting me that my brother was in pain, and there was nothing I could do about it. Something dark was brewing inside me. I was aware of it. I was trying to quell the growing rage deep down in my gut, but the more I struggled, the more the blackness seemed to just fester. I decided that I could not attack this dangerous feeling with determination and stubbornness. Instead, I would remedy the affliction with an open heart and peaceful tranquility, the Jedi way. I headed up one of the many trails on Tython, this one leading to the open grasslands where Hornth families often played. Kneeling down, I began a meditation of serenity. I began to focus on the evil pit in my stomach, trying to envelop it in the warmth of total calmness. I felt the blackness begin to subside, melting away. I was aware of the abundance of life surrounding me as the Hornth playfully scampered about my kneeling form. The sun shone down, penetrating me to my core. But then, something happened. The sunlight around me darkened. The sky filled with black clouds, and lightning flashed overhead. I heard, as if off in the distance, the muted sounds of agonizing screams. I saw a huge temple, evil radiating from it with such force that it was almost tangible. I felt as if I was being slowly squeezed by a giant hand, my entire body convulsing under the crushing might. Pain spiked out from where I was kneeling, and I could sense the animals around me panic. Suddenly, the image of the temple was replaced by the face of my brother. His eyes blazed blood red. His visage was contorted, angry, and in pain. I heard his voice say my name, Xov'ryn. And at that moment, the blackness in my gut exploded like a dying star. I shrieked out in torment. I came out of my meditation drenched in a cold sweat. I coughed and tried to catch my breath, which had become ragged. Blinking the sweat out of my eyes, I looked around and realized that all the Hornth around me were dead, killed by whatever force wave I had just unleashed. My jaw dropped agape as I surveyed the carnage I had unknowingly caused. The sadness I felt for these innocent animals was only matched by the incredible shame enveloping me over my lack of control. As I looked around the grassy clearing, I realized one of the Jedi Order's most revered masters was standing there. Master Latiri's pained expression said everything I needed to know. She had witnessed the whole event. I trudged over to her and dropped to one knee, only then realizing that I felt completely drained of all my energy. Master Latiri's voice was decisive, yet soft. She told me to follow her back to the academy, as we had much to discuss. We spent the rest of the afternoon talking about the conflict inside of me. Master Latiri was troubled by what she had witnessed, but I think what concerned her even more was the thought of what I might become if my internal strife was not resolved under the supervision of one such as herself. She informed me that she would be taking me on as her Padawan learner. Master Letiri was a Mirialan. Her green skin always seemed to glint slightly in Tython sunlight. Though small in stature, her strength in the Force radiated from her like a tidal wave. She could more than hold her own in a fight. However, she was wise beyond her years, and preferred to focus her attention more on diplomacy than combat. It was this calming demeanor which made her the perfect fit to aid me in my internal struggles. This is most likely why she took me on as her Padawan. Over the next few months, she and I worked together to quiet the storm within me. At first, I had wondered why she was so willing to help me. After what she had witnessed in that grassy clearing, I could not imagine her perception of me. That horrifying event would surely have scared off most Jedi searching for possible Padawans. However, through our many sessions, I learned that Master Letiri was very close to her own brother. He had suffered serious injuries during the sacking of Coruscant and the demolition of the Jedi Temple there. Master Letiri had nearly lost her brother. Understandably, my familial plight had struck a chord with her. We were kindred spirits of sorts. My training at the hands of Master Letiri was illuminating, to say the least. I had always prided myself on my physical abilities in combat. My brother and I had trained together back on Anaxis, and were both exceptional. But Master Letiri's teachings were focused more on the mental and psychological aspects of battle. She taught me how the Force wasn't just a tool I could use to augment my saber attacks. I could also focus it and bend it, unleashing powerful yet elegant assaults as well. Before, my attacks had been vicious and brutal, lacking any real artistry. Under Master Letiri's tutelage, my moves were becoming more like water, flowing and adaptive, yet capable of carving through even the most staunch defenses. There was a certain level of serenity I felt while in battle. A calming tranquility coursed through me. It was confidence, but not just in me anymore. It was a confidence in the Force, and my ability to let it flow through me without restraint or resistance. I was shaping myself into a lethal storm of light and energy. My body was now an instrument I would use to rid the galaxy of corruption, deception, and villainy. I was now officially a sentinel of the Jedi Order. That is not to say there were not some hiccups in my education. There was the occasional errant saber throw, some temporary blindness every now and then from misusing my defensive techniques. And then, of course, there was the issue of my ever-expanding ego. Admittedly, my newfound skills did sometimes go to my head. But Master Letiri was quick to remind me just how much I still had to learn. Overall, though, my progression was proceeding ahead at a brisk pace, and my masters seemed very pleased. One afternoon, while I was talking with some of the Jedi Temple's newest arrivals, I received my first good lead regarding my brother in what seemed like forever. One of the new Jedi hopefuls had been picked up from the Outer Rim. During her trip to Tython, she had overheard some Republic Spec Force troops talking about a bunch of intelligence files they were bringing to their base on Ord Mantell. Apparently, there was a group of mercenaries who had realized that military information was worth more credits than any random bounty contract. The band of outlaws had decided to raid a small Imperial outpost on the backwater planet of Tatooine. Through skill or dumb luck, I couldn't really be sure which, they had managed to accomplish their mission. Along with the stolen military data, they had somehow captured a Sith Lord who had been in charge of the desert installation. For a sizable fee, the mercenaries were turning over their prisoner as well as dozens of classified documents regarding happenings outside of the core worlds. One of the files apparently mentioned the name Kyra. My brother was somewhere beyond the systems in the core. I readied my belongings and informed Master Letiri of my plans to travel to Tatooine and perform my own inquiry. To put it mildly, she was not enthused. My master told me that I was not ready to leave the academy yet. She told me that I still had much to learn before my training at the temple would be complete. I heard her words, and part of me did want to stay. But I had not heard any news regarding my brother in so long. If I let this opportunity slip through my fingers, how long would it be before I had another chance? My mind was made up. I promised Master Letiri that I would return, but there was no way I was letting this information go to waste. The next day, I hitched a ride aboard a freighter heading for the world of the Twin Suns. I was excited, of that there was no doubt. But at the same time, I had a suspicious feeling in my gut. Why was the Empire interested in my brother? After running away, had he become a smuggler? A petty thief who had unfortunately caught the eye of Imperial law enforcement? The systems outside of the core worlds were generally hostile places to try to make a living. I wondered what exactly had my brother gotten himself into. I let the Force wash over me and let my mind clear of all questions. I would try to be patient. I would have my answers soon enough. At least, that was my hope.